Hello friends and welcome back to Enterprise Architecture. It's been a little while since we've streamed, so I wanted to jump into the new year and play something a little different than we normally play. This probably should have happened during the Halloween episodes, but I think for the new year, I think playing a new game to the stream would be good. I'm actually going to be playing Grim Dawn, which is not a building game. It's an action RPG, similar in the vein of Diablo and some of those sorts of games that y'all are probably already familiar with. This is going to be more of a game recording for people who have never played Grim Dawn before, to try and convince you why this is one of my favorite games, rather than really playing a hardcore game and being very, very, let's say, too obsessive about the numbers. Just really want to play a fun little game here. I think we're going to start by creating a new character, and for this episode I really want to do a Witchhunter. So one of the neat things about Grim Dawn is that you dual class your characters. So I think that a Witchhunter is a super fun type of character to play. The default way that I like to play it is as a poison caster, which works a little differently than poison casters in some other games you may be familiar with. It mainly hurls a ball of poison called Dreeg's Evil Eye, much as if you would be using Fireball or something similar for a more traditional caster. It's a really nice little build. However, to start the game, you just have a sword and shield, barely a sword, barely a shield. And we're going to use that to try and take out a few enemies to get us to level 1 so we can start our caster build. Okay, there we go. Already picking up a few items here to start as we get out of Devil's Crossing, which is the entry town of the game. Now, I'm not going to stop and go through all of the plot of the game. I'm going to skip right into the action here. Obviously, you should go back and play the game for yourself and read all of the fun little bits of flavor text in here and listen to all of the great voice acting. It is a delightful game. It has a fantastic story, and I highly, highly recommend it. But again, I want people to be able to enjoy that for themselves. So, as I mentioned, all of your classes in Grim Dawn are dual class, but we're going to start with Occultist. Now you can see here all of the other classes. I have the full game. I have all of the expansions added, which means rather than the base 6 set of classes here at the top, I also have the 3 additional, the Inquisitor, the Necromancer, and the Oathkeeper, all added, which are fantastic and worth buying the expansions for, even without the other content. Necromancer is, of course, the classic skeleton raising build, which is wonderful. Oathkeeper is a really nice advanced sword and board, but you can also do sword and board with a soldier, meaning using a sword and shield as your main attack style. But today, no, we are doing Occultist, which again is a variety of things, but we're going to build a poison caster with it. So, we drop a point into the base tree, and then 2 points into Dreeg's Evil Eye, which will be our primary skill. Now, for this build, I am going to be using the Belladonna build, which is by the Jabrix 1. This is actually a build that was for an older version of the game, but I think it's still viable for most of the things that we're going to want to do with it, and it's still a lot of fun to play. So to start, I'm going to Hargate's Isle. This is actually a place that is not supposed to be accessed until later in the game, but there's a bunch of level 5 enemies here, these Deepmire warriors and whatnot, and it allows me to get my character usually leveled up to about level 5 right here at the start without having to really do anything else. So we're going to go ahead and kill off these and see, already I'm at level 3. So we're going to put a couple of more points into our skill tree so that we can get to Bloodburst, which we'll be able to use at our next level. Bloodburst just takes our normal poison cast of Dreeg's Evil Eye, or DEE as we call it in the lingo, and gives it the power to explode on contact, which gives you a nice area of effect damage. Splash damage to all the enemies around it. There we go. So one of the things I love the most about this game is how quickly you can get very, very viable skills up and online very quickly. It's just really nice, again, especially compared to games like, again, Path of Exile, which I wasn't really enjoying as much when I was playing it over the holidays, just because it takes so long to get any of your skills up and viable. So I'm going to put 2 points into Bloodburst here, and immediately we're going to get splash damage off that. 54 points of poison damage over time, and acid damage, which is the primary there. And now we have a couple of more points into Occultist as well. Now, at this point, I will be getting points that I can add to my character's attributes. I'm going to hold off on using those for right now. We'll come back to that later. You're mainly going to be using those points as needed to give you more strength to be able to wear better armor. And of course, we do want to invest in Spirit because that gives us our mana pool and energy damage to all of our magic spells. But we'll come back to that later on. So yeah, we're going to go ahead and clear out this area. Hopefully we'll get a couple of nice weapons. And you can see with this splash damage, I can take out this entire nest in basically just 3 clicks. Which is super useful. Let's see. Vitality damage, Vitality K, Cunning. Yeah, that's not very useful for us. Those pants are not an upgrade. The armor is an upgrade and gives us energy regeneration, which again is our mana pool. So we do want to go ahead and use that. Again, I'm not going to min-max too hard here on the armor and the gear, all that normal stuff. Just want to kind of show off the game a little bit and play through a couple of acts. And show you all what the flavor of it is. Okay. So as you can see here, I'm just really quickly able to clear out a large amount of enemies that are basically a level above me. But this whole area becomes very, very easy, very fast. Just swapping out as we go. That's identical to what I've got. Okay, so this level actually has a whole spawning, sprawling area underneath, excuse me, but it's locked for now. We're not going to get that key until much later in the game, so we're just going to ignore that for right now. We are going to pick up a bit of lore, which gives you some experience points. You can say I just reached the next level, but we're not going to read through that again. You should check out all of the lore in the game. It's really great, but for right now, we're not going to stop to read all of that. But it's very, very worth it if you have not played the game before. I don't want to spoil anything for those of you who have not played it. So yeah, just chewing through enemies at this point. The area of effect, of course, takes no additional energy. It only has the base cost to use, which is really, really nice. That's one of the more recent-ish updates to the game. They made that free, which is just a really, really nice little bonus for playing through. So, let's get back to the main quest here for a minute. Our path is blocked here. They do a really nice job of making the maps, which are not randomly generated at all, seem interesting by making random paths closed off to you through each time you load a game. So what may have been a clear path before might have a rock in the way or something that's on fire in front of it, so you can't actually get to that path anymore. So it's not especially complicated. It usually just means you have to go around a little bit, but it does give you just a little bit of extra there, a feeling like it's a little bit more random. Okay, now we're going to go to the first mini-boss here, Barog the Bloodied, and you can see it says Aether Corruption. The Aether is one of the 3 main factions in the game. The Aether and the Chthonics are the ones that monsters that you were fighting against. So we're just going to pick up all the loot that he exploded. Note that I killed him in only just a moment there, because this is a very, very rapid build. Let's see here. That doesn't really help me much. Yeah, none of this is really the sort of build that we're looking for. But these offhands are awfully nice. And energy regen is definitely something we're going to need. So let's go ahead and pick up this Necromancer's Tome. But to do that, we're going to need to put a couple of more points into Spirit before we can use that. I'm not really worried about giving up my shield at this point. Defense is not my primary need. Okay, so we're going to pop in here, pick up these additional lore points. Sometimes they're hidden, sometimes they're just laying out in the open like this. And you'll note sometimes I don't even stop to finish off the enemies just because they will start to die as a result of the poison anyway. So here's one of those where we have to kind of go around because the path is blocked. I don't remember if that's always blocked or not. I want to say it's not, but there's a couple of ways around that drag you through the swamp here and deal with all these swarms of... I'm not sure what they are. Swarms of something. Come on, I know you're real. There we go. And again, all ready to level 6. Very quick. Okay, so to that end, we're going to continue to dump points into Bloodburst. Because that's a great skill until we max it, and then we'll double back and max out Evil Eye. Now, here's the first travel rift. Now, the game has these waypoints. They call them rifts, but it means that you don't actually need scrolls of portal like you would in a Diablo game. You can actually create them anytime you want right here. It is a personal rift that then connects to the rift network. And that makes it really, really nice for getting around in the game. I certainly appreciate not having to stop and carry a huge pile of various extra items just to be able to warp back and forth around the map. Okay, yeah. Sell off all of our stuff and then we'll hop back into the game. So yeah, you can use your personal rift wherever you are, and you see it just appears on the map like anything else. It generally appears closest to the rift you last found, rather than being exactly on the map where you left it, which is interesting, but it works fine. Okay, so now we're trying to, per the quest that we have been assigned, find the source of the dead rising from their graves on Burial Hill. So we're going to go into the Burial Cave and figure that out. You'll also note that there's these piles of green crystals, which is of course related to this reason why things are rising from the dead. These ethereal crystals, aether crystals. As you can probably guess, they're all spawning lots of bodies rising immediately around the crystals. So for those of you who probably have already guessed, yes, the crystals are causing all of this to happen. So we're going to break those. They will hit you with a bolt of ethereal, whatever, energy, I guess, when you get too close to them. But I'm just breaking them really fast. I'm going to jump ahead here and filter down my loot as well, so the common loot doesn't show up. Mainly, again, just because I already know what I'm going to be getting, and that's not really going to help me any at this point in the game. Since it is one of those ARPGs, you know, loot is one of the core aspects of the game. It really is the most important thing to your build, is the items that you get, in addition to the skills that you're getting. And to that end, this game gives you a lot of loot, as you've probably been able to tell already. Enemies constantly are dropping loot for you. Which again feels very, very rewarding. Okay, here's the second boss, Kaizog the Reanimator. And again, we're going to make relatively short work of this monster. And again, if you take a look there, you can kind of see he's like covered in these green glowing crystals, at least until I explode him. The enemies are just really, really well rendered. I really appreciate the thoughtfulness in making them appear as part of the world. Okay, that gives us defensive ability, but that's not helpful to us. that gives us vitality and decay and spirit, but not enough to be useful to us, so we're going to ignore that. And we're going to go up here and clear out our first devotions shrine. So in addition to the 2 classes that you have, there is devotion in this game. And this works a little bit like the way Path of Exile does. You have these ruined shrines that you have to restore either by giving items to them or by clearing them of monsters. And they always drop a great amount of items for you as well. We just got, for instance, the Necromancer's Claw fetish, which is useful as a necklace. We're going to go ahead and replace that with the bag of salt that we get by default. Do not get rid of your bag of salt. Save that somewhere for the future. Trust me on this. But, as I was saying, devotion. So, we have more skill points. Let's use those real quick because we leveled up. Confirm those changes. And here is the massive devotion chart. You basically have all of these star constellations that you unlock by having a certain number of points to be able to use them, and then completing them gives you more points of a various color. You have the blue, red, green, purple, and yellow. And each of those has a particular focus of skills, whether it's hand-to-hand combat, whether it's poison, whether it's electricity. Each of them fall into one of those categories. So we're interested in poison builds, so we're going to start with green, which unlocks all of our poisonous animals that we can start here. Scorpion, bat, etc. But we're going to put our first point into green here. Again, we only have 1 point of devotion per shrine, so it takes a while to unlock these. But then you get secondary skills that can be unlocked as a result, such as Twin Fangs here, which is basically stealing health. But each of the points that you put in there actually gives you a bump. So this gives you 18 to offensive ability. If I unlock the first in the bat, it gives me damage for vitality and bleeding, etc., etc. So all of these are really helpful. And those help you maximize your build above and beyond just the skills that you have and the gear that you have. It's a nice little addition. And usually those skills are initiated as a secondary skill to a primary skill that you have. So for instance, I will bind a skill to Dreeg's Evil Eye when I'm throwing my poison casting, and that will cause a secondary skill to go off, again, once I have enough points to unlock it. Okay, just a quick note, I should not have put that point into green. It's been a while since I started a new character, so I really want that point in red.
Greetings, child.
So we go over here, and this spirit guide will allow us to trade that back out. Okay, just like that. Quick and easy. Only costs a couple of a little bit of money actually for that to undo it, and we of course want to put our point into red. Red unlocks rat. Rat gives us green. So we will we'll worry about that later. For right now, just realize I screwed up per usual on my initial build. Just gonna go ahead and dump our stuff and carry on. So, we've cleared out Burial Hill. The captain has thanked us. We now have access to all of Devil's Crossing, and we can carry on. I'm probably going to rush through the next bit here, just because the next little sections are not the most exciting. We did luck out in that the Putrid Den generated right next to Burial Hill. Usually it appears further away. It can appear in, I think, 1 of 3 spots, and this is by far the most convenient spot for it to appear in. Again, this is an optional little side area. We don't have to go here, but we do want to clear out this den because we can get a pretty nice weapon from the boss, which will give us more poison damage. And see, I'm taking a lot of hits already. Again, this is mainly a build designed for casting. We are not optimizing here. Health potion. course, the other thing to note is that the ground here even poisons us, as I recall, so it's somewhat problematic. Okay, level 8. I don't know if we can face tank this successfully. Oh, little dodgy. And just like that. Okay, perfect. Now the scrap we're going to use to unlock some other things. We've got the buckler. Oh, did he not? Nope, did not drop the item I wanted. Acid resistance physical. Yeah, that's not ideal. Sometimes he'll drop his tail, which gives you a nice poison weapon. Again, we're not min-maxing here. We're not going to worry about it. We're going to be able to get through the game just fine without it. But what we will do is go ahead and continue to max out Bloodburst, and then we're going to max Dreeg's Evil Eye. I might put a point into Curse of Frailty here in a second too, just because that'll be very helpful for some of the bosses that are coming up. Make short work of enemies like that one that we just fought. Okay, now there's a champion enemy right here, Ferris the Rotted. He's one of the 3 champions in this area, and there's a sub-quest that you can take on to deal with those 3 enemies. But we're not going to worry about that. Don't really need it. Doesn't really give you anything useful, so we're not going to fight that one. Okay, don't have enough physique for that, so let's keep going. So, the old dump doesn't really hold anything else for us, so we're going to just kind of skip right over it. Again, there's flavor text here, there's interesting stuff going on in the dump. Most importantly in the dump, though, what we do need is at least 5 scrap. So maybe we'll at least go and get those, because we need scrap to unlock one of the next quests here coming up. There we go, 5 scrap. Okay, so we're gonna follow the road here. These tracks will lead us through, well, most of the game, quite frankly, until we get to the next Rift Gate, and then we're gonna go do a couple of tiny side quests. Okay, so this rift is swarming with ethereals, as they say. So you basically have to clear out all of the enemies before you can gain access to it. And, nope, one more round of enemies. Okay. There we go, it turns purple and then we can use it. Alright, so we're going to hop back to Devil's Crossing. And we're going to do a couple of things here. First, we're going to go and talk to the inventor. We give him some ethereal crystals, and we agree to his quest, because that's actually useful, and he gave us a couple of extra points here that we can then invest. So I'm actually going to use that extra point that he gave us for Curse of Frailty. I'm going to bind that over here to quick slot 1. I really need to remap those keys to something more convenient. No, we're not going to talk to Harmon. We don't want your request. But we are going to talk to Barnabas.
Search the house.
So we're going to give him the 5 scrap that we have. He gives me some experience points. And then we also need to clear out the basement of the town. Now this town was an old jail. So that means there's jail cells under there and some monsters. Oh, I shouldn't have accepted that quest. Not useful. Not useful. Get rid of all this stuff. Let's go ahead and dump a few more points. I'm going to put this into my base because I really want vulnerability. And let's go on down into the dungeons. Okay, here we have it, the Convict's Tunnel. I like that there's destructible walls in this game that hide some of the secrets. Sometimes you just have to knock down walls just to get where they're going, but they also can sometimes have secret rooms behind them, and that's kind of great. And I do love the maps here. It just really, really feels like the original sort of like Dungeons and Dragons sort of feel. You know, all of those classic games. It feels musty and dank. There's great atmospherics. And the rooms are laid out in an interesting way. Especially in these early levels, it reminds me of that old tabletop game, Hero Quest, a lot too, or any of the tabletop versions of Dungeons & Dragons where you actually move through tiles. Alright, so we're just navigating our way down here. That top corner has the path to the next level, but we're just going through the cells right here, the jail cells, to get us to the aquifer below. Clearing out some spiders. Sorry for the arachnophobes, probably should have had a content warning on here. There is not an arachnophobia mode to this game as far as I'm aware, but there are only spiders in a couple of areas, so it's not too bad. This is one of them though. So again, having to break down these walls to get to the next section, just as part of the game. Some background pieces, these webs that you can then click to get the various items that the adventurers who failed before us had. I assume that's what that's meant to be. Journeyman's Pack, for instance, has a food ration for us that resets our vitality. Vitality is important because it allows you to regenerate your health. Without vitality, you cannot. Alright, clearing these out. And again, that area of effect explosion, now that I've got it maxed all the way out, is just very, very quickly and easily taking out hordes of enemies. And that's going to suit us for actually a lot of the game. Is just these base skills that we're using now. We will add some other ones to it. Now I will show you Curse of Frailty here. It gives you an area of effect, and much like you would guess from the name, it puts these red stars over top of everyone in the area, and it just makes them more susceptible to your attacks. It lowers their defense. Okay. Green. So yellow items are magic, and green items are rare. Usually it has slightly better stats, just like in any other game. We're going to swap these out, even though they don't really do much for us. Actually, that new offhand, though, what does that give us? Nothing. Okay, not really useful. So this quest is to just get to the end of this little section and take on the boss. Conveniently enough, there's also another Shrine of Devotion over here, so we can get another devotion point, which, as previously discussed, we will be putting into Rat. So again, these enemies usually are a little tougher, but since we've already maxed out our poison casting area of effect, they go down real quick. It's just such a fun skill to play. And it just makes such short, quick work of these lower level enemies. Now, of course, because this is a caster, we are going to have a hard time on bosses, especially as we get later into the game. Now, note on the map here, it gives you that star. That tells you where the boss is. Vyloth the Corruptor is the next enemy that we're going after. You can see him right there. Already trying to curse me, throw some water at me. And again, if I stood around, this would be, oh, and cast poisons at me as well. So yeah, we want to get out of those ways, just kind of kiting around him a little bit so that we don't take his attacks directly. There we go. Now, we got really lucky here because he dropped his ring. That's one of the uniques that he drops, which I think, if I remember correctly... There we go, yeah. So this gives us bonus to acid damage, and since acid damage is our primary damage, that's going to be super, super useful. Yeah, there it is. Violet's Ring of the Drangul. So yeah, we're going to be using that a bit here. Okay, one last thing to do in this little section, and that's to go through and pick up this shrine. We author an ether crystal, and it unlocks the shrine, and that gives us a devotion point. So let's go ahead. Oh, this is the important part. We just got to level 10. So now at level 10, we can pick up our second class. Now, as I mentioned before, I want to run a Witchhunter, and that means Nightblade is going to be our second class here. So again, we're using the Belladonna as our base build, the Jabrix 1's Belladonna build. And so yeah, we are going to be picking up the Nightblade class as our second class. Now, Nightblades are really neat. They're basically your rogue class for this game. And one of their specialties is dual wielding. So you can use dual blades as a primary attack for melee skills. It's really neat. They also can throw phantasmal blades, which are just throwing daggers. They have a lot of really neat skills that allow you to lurk and hide and attack very, very quickly with daggers. I love this as a base class in other builds. So we're just going to pick it up for now, but we're not going to put any points into it yet. Instead, we're coming back here, and we're going to focus on getting a few more points so that we can get vulnerability unlocked. It adds 2 to the energy cost of our Curse of Frailty. All of the round icons are modifiers off of the square base skills that you cast. So this just adds additional poison and acid resistance drops to the enemies that we are cursing. After this, from now on, we're going to focus on Dreeg's Evil Eye. Okay, so we don't need to run back through all of that. No, we're just going to grab these extra items here that are laying around on the floor, and then head back to Devil's Crossing. So, cleared out the Slith for Barnabas. We'll go back and we'll get our reward.
Clearing out those. Well done.
Just like that, and we just get a little bit of experience. Let's sell off all of our junk. 1.4. That's actually useful. We'll take that. And that's less useful. Not useful. Not useful. Not useful. None of these are any useful. Yep. Great. Okay, so that's a little taste of Grim Dawn. I hope you all enjoyed watching this and seeing the very early stages of the game. I'll probably play through at least Act 1, if not further, with this build, just so you can see this character in action and really get some of the fun flavoriness of how Grim Dawn plays. But for now, we're going to say goodbye. So thank you again for watching Enterprise Architecture, and we'll see you back here next time. Bye, friends!